everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Must Knows. My name is Merlin Rothfeld. Here are several things to pay attention to for the upcoming trading week. Well, before I start, let's just revisit what happened last week. We talked about the potential and the likelihood of there being an approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF last Wednesday. And lo and behold, not only do we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can't even count them on all my fingers. We had 11 approvals for a spot Bitcoin ETF, which of course causes those of us in the digital asset space to rejoice. And for those of you who are in my focus or my digital assets program, of course that will be the topic du jour. But it sets the stage for more change to come with regards to digital assets, which is welcome, at least in my book. Some of you still think Bitcoin's a scam. That's okay. This was a nice stamp of approval, at least from the market's perspective, that Bitcoin is here to stay. All right, let's move on to what's happening this week. Of course, we saw what happened on Friday's earnings, really kicking things off, and that to me was the biggest part of the week other than the Bitcoin approval. If we look at the earnings calendar, though, we start to see some pretty big names coming out this week as well. So let's go to our chart here. 119 companies reporting. It doesn't seem like there's that many. And honestly, there's nothing on Monday that's noteworthy. On Tuesday, though, we start to see a bunch of banks, including Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, PNC Financial, and Interactive Broker. On Wednesday, we get even more. We've got Kinder Morgan with KMI. You have Alcoa, you have USB, you have Charles Schwab, CFG, which is Citizens Financial Group, and Discovery Financial Services reporting earnings. Thursday, it continues. We have KeyCorp, you have Fastenal, and JB Hunt Transportation. And then on Friday, even more banks. Schlumberger, Travelers, Huntington Bank Shares, Fifth Third Bancorp, State Street, and Ally Financial. A plethora, if you will, of financial companies reporting this week, coming off the heels of last Friday's. And of course, that kind of sets the tone and expectations for our market's earnings season, which officially is underway. If any of these are in your portfolio or just plan on trading them, expect there to be significant volatility, particularly in those that are traded on the NASDAQ. They tend to be a bit more volatile because of the way the markets execute. All right, now let's go one step further and look at our next event, which is going to be, well, we'll talk about retail sales. I know, you guys we're done with that in November and December, weren't we? No, well, we got it every month. And the reason I'm bringing this one up is you can see right now that retail sales had a slight tick up, but it really hasn't had any strong surges one way or the other. And of course, right now, it is a economic data-driven market. The Fed has made it very clear that they are talking about rate cuts this year, maybe starting in May, June, July, somewhere in there. But I'll tell you, it's inflation becomes a key part of this. When we start looking at this inflationary data, that is largely due to retail sales, right? The more people spend, the more they buy, the more retail sales surge, the more inflation starts to surge. So these things are all connected. Now, retail sales isn't as popular as what we saw last week with consumer price index, which is rising, producer price index as well. So those measurements were much more exciting last week. And of course, we saw inflation tick back up, and that may lead to a little bit more spending numbers here for the retail sales. So that's one thing to pay attention to. It's going to be Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time when we get those retail sales numbers. And you can see right here on the hard red edge, expected to stay right where we're at 0.3%. Now, let's go look at one more piece of data for the week ahead, and that is going to be U.S. manufacturing numbers. I've got two of them highlighted here. We've got Tuesday announcement and on Thursday, so mark your calendars, folks. Now, I've mentioned this many, many times in the past, that manufacturing isn't like the bellwether of America, but it is a sign. It is a place where there are jobs going on, so it's good to see manufacturing data increasing. So here are two major announcements happening this week with regards to manufacturing in the United States. On Tuesday, you have the Empire State Manufacturing Index. That's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then, of course, as you see there on Thursday, you have the follow-up, which is the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, and that will happen at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. So it's going to be a pretty busy week, folks. You start things off with earnings pretty much every day except Monday. Lots of banks, lots of financials, and we'll start to get into other sectors here in the coming weeks. You also have retail sales numbers. You have the Empire State, the Philly Fed Manufacturing numbers, all of which can be major drivers of price. And keep your eye on crypto. That may be a case of buy the rumor, sell the news as we go forward with regards to crypto and digital assets, particularly with Bitcoin. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must Knows. We'll see you next week.